Well, videos are circulating.
Yo. What it do? It's Maribacho420 The Politician. Let's get it in. Like, share, and subscribe.
Navy soldiers having to remove a sign declaring a Mexican beach Department of Defense property.
So, as America's battle against cartels heats up, it looks like the U.S. military is up to something in Mexico. And while the Mexican government has condemned...
Did you plan? If you do this, are the civilians of Mexico gonna pay the price?
The idea of U.S. troops or even contractors crossing the border for any reason. Many law-abiding Mexicans protesting cartel-linked government corruption see this whole situation very differently. And when you add these protests to potential U.S. military action, it makes it look like this cartel sanctuary is about to collapse.
Tonight, with America's largest aircraft carrier now in the Caribbean, and after another U.S. strike, President Trump signaling he's willing to expand his war on cartels into Mexico and Colombia, too.
Would I launch strikes in Mexico? We know their address. We know their front door. I would be proud to do it personally. I didn't say I'm doing it, but I would be proud to do it.
Americans already know cartels run Mexico like parallel states, and strikes aren't the first step. We know that the U.S. can and are now fighting cartel finances, supply chains, and weapons flows without occupying any territory. The problem, Will, is Mexico's government. Many politicians owe their careers to cartel financing.
These cartels are very powerful. They possess, in many cases, more weapons, better training, better intelligence, and more capabilities than nation states do.
And to make it even more...
You don't think they got the money to buy a tank? You think they don't got the money to... Are civilians out there going to pay the price, or are they going to be like, hey, this is what you get for coming in here, and this is for you letting them in? Hey, you don't know. Hey, it's a whole different world than south of the border, fool. It's a whole different monster, fool. It's a whole different thing.
Spicy, the U.S.'s accidental invasion of Mexico happened on the same day that Donald Trump said that he would be okay with bombing cartels in the country.
So the Mexican president says the United States is trying to cause an international incident over this alleged border incursion. But what nobody's talking about is Mexico has caused an international incident or two by allegedly harboring cartels within its own borders, who then do things inside the country and outside of it as well. Something the people of Mexico are sick and tired of, which became obvious when protests took over the capital. Protests that never would have happened.
Being a civilian or somewhere, and you know that it's not really being run by what you think is being run. When you know, and then you've been living with it for all your life, I'm pretty sure you get fed up with it, and that's why they got to where they're at right now. And I'm just saying, are people gonna pay the price for this? Are cartels just gonna roll up, hit up the whole shop center, the whole mercado, and say this is what happens? You never know, fool. Hey, I'm telling you, it's a whole different monster, fool. It's a monster you ain't never even seen, fool. You just heard.
Without American leadership singling out these dangerous cartels and telling them it's time to give up. And for the first time, you've got the law-abiding citizens of Mexico and law-abiding Americans who are united on the idea that these cartels should control absolutely nothing. Everyone feels that way except, of course, these criminals who just want more. And it's alleged that the president of Mexico is firmly in their sphere of influence, along with other operatives and conspirators at all levels of the Mexican government, which is why the bad guys always seem to survive Mexico's never-ending crackdowns that never end because they never seem to work. Which brings us to the real reason this alleged incursion into Mexican territory is such a big deal. It's happening at a time when the Trump administration has made it crystal clear the reign of these criminal organizations needs to come
hold
to
on.
an
What's the
end
title?
for the benefit of everyone. With these
Is it
signs
lands or
on the
invades?
beach being planted the very same.
Is it invades or lands? U.S. Marines land in Mexico. U.S. Marines infiltrate in Mexico. I said New Mexico. Goddamn, I'm talking about the old one.
Day, the president said he'd have no problem authorizing strikes in Mexican territory, even potentially escalating things in a manner that has never before happened in our history. But the big question now is, how did these signs even get into Mexico?
Turns out, though, it wasn't just one sign, it was 6, and they were placed there on accident. Only after it was investigated by the heavily armed Mexican Navy, the Pentagon admitted that contractors hired by the DoD were instructed to place these signs on the Texas side of the border. But, quote, changes in the water depth and the typography alter the perception of the international boundaries location.
Okay, so the U.S.
So the sand moved it for? You put it somewhere and Mother Nature just ended up moving it somewhere else?
U.S. military didn't hop its own border wall and then plant signs in an area that was obviously not U.S. territory. Instead, they entered an unmarked area, and the mainstream news wants us to think that the U.S., which has GPS satellites and lots of intelligence, has no idea where America's
that's not what it
border
meant.
stops and ends. That's what they want us to think.
My personal
I
favorite
feel like
part of
a
the
dumbass.
statement, government of Mexico personnel removed
that-
6 signs.
It says, I only said that because of this. It says, changes in water depth and topography altered the precipitation of the internationalization. So, changes in water depth and honestly, I don't know what that means. Altered the perception of the international borders location. Basically, bullshit and bullshit. Contracts hired by the Department of Defense to plant the signs on the Texas side of the border to mark National Defense Area 3. The Pentagon has been installing a series of national defense areas in 2025 to tighten control of the U.S. So, are they using defense areas as an excuse? Not an excuse, but an excuse to be there because they want to, and then now they're changing it into, I don't know, fool.
Based
I don't know.
on their perception of the international boundaries location.
Okay, so there we go. This is a disputed area. The U.S. says, hey, we put these signs in the right place, and the Mexican government says, no, you didn't. That's our territory. You're not allowed to put anything there. But this is happening at a time when the president's made it clear that going into Mexico to find criminals is something that would probably make the world a better place. Something locals in Mexico are already on board with by way of their anti-corruption protests, which have taken place at the Capitol in recent days. Corruption that's linked to these cartels, which the people of Mexico feel are stealing their future and ruining their lives, which of course would stop happening if the United States got involved.
You're planning on also potentially launching strikes in Mexico?
It's okay with me. Mexico is, look, I looked at Mexico City over the weekend. There's just some big problems over there. If we had to, would we do there what we've done to the waterways? Isn't it down like 85%?
It is, sir.
I don't know who the 15% would be. It wouldn't be you.
No, that's for sure.
No, I think it's been...
Right, so The U.S. has already taken action against criminals trying to enter America illegally on the waterways. That's been national, international news, and now those crossings are way down. And the idea is if you stop criminals from freely operating in territory that they...
Some morenos are, and some morenos ain't.
think they own, they're gonna stop freely operating in territory they actually don't own. And if you were to apply this intervention stuff,
that's right. You never want to judge a book by its cover, fool. Always let the other person, you know, before you. Hey, you know Spanish? Stop lying, fool. You know Spanish, huh? That pinche culero. And then that's when they, oh yeah, fool, yeah. I knew it. Fucking idiot.
Style to land areas of Mexico, the same effect would happen. Criminals who have territory which is marked and is theirs and is a no-go zone for actual Mexican people who aren't criminals, these guys would be forced out of there. They would have to shut down their operations. They would have to stop committing crimes. They would have to stop trying to cross the U.S. border. And that's a good thing, because if these criminals are allowed to do their thing, all they do is spread their corruption throughout Mexico and harm people by destroying a country and taking away its freedom.
Of a protest that we said it's enough.
Well, it's been like that, fool.
We believe that
that's why they're tired of it,
President Trump and the U.S. help may be more welcome than ever before. So, and I believe it's very clear. You know, Trump was signaling what Americans already know. Cartels run Mexico like parallel states, and strikes aren't the first step. We know that the U.S. can and are now fighting cartel finances, supply chains, and weapons flows without occupying any territory. The problem, Will, is Mexico's government. Many politicians owe.
I'm just on the what. I always told the homies, fool, if you do this, make sure what's going to happen after. Always do this. I don't know. That's how it was in my mind, fool. I always told the homies to always fucking think. If you do this, if you do it this way, how's it gonna? If you do it that way, I lost what the fuck I was talking about, fool. I got off track. I need something to put me back on it. Little crowbar. Shit. Nope. Still off of it.
Their careers to cartel financing.
Right. So there's a number of ways to fight against the cartels, and the U.S. is already going after these guys financially, shutting them down in the waterway.
My whole thing is, are the people of Mexico gonna pay the price? That's all mine. Every action has an opposite reaction, fool. I just went science on your ass, fool. I just went Bill 9, fool. I just went scientifically, not Scientology, because I'm not trying to mind fuck you. I'm trying to tell you how it is, fool. But there's a line between I tell you and I don't. And right now, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. I'm just kidding.
This is also a big issue. If cartels can't use the waterways, they've got to restrict all their movements to the land, and we know that the U.S. southern border is now closed. However, these organizations, they still freely operate on the Mexican side of the border, and that's a big problem. And when you look at the large numbers of people who came to these recent protests in Mexico, it makes this entire idea of some sort of U.S. intervention in this country look very different than the idea of a Vietnam or Iraq-style military conflict, where the U.S. military shows up and isn't wanted and has to battle some entrenched guerrilla army forever. But this is different. There are people in Mexico who want to see these criminal organizations gone. And the U.S. doesn't necessarily have to invade. We can keep going after these cartels financially. We can launch a precision strike, which it sounds like the president is thinking about. If we know where these criminals are hiding and we have the technology to take them out safely while limiting that action to just the criminal organization itself, which we do, it makes sense that the president is contemplating this stuff. It would be very similar to exactly what we're seeing on the waterways outside of America. Plus, it's not like we don't know where these criminal organizations are. I mean, they've got territory all over Mexico. There are maps showing their territory, and we've got drones. We can see them moving around and doing things. It's not like some secret. These are not underground organizations that nobody knows about.
The problem, Will, is Mexico's government. Many politicians owe
That's huge, man.
their careers to cartel financing. Until that political criminal nexus is broken, strikes
That's my
remain
whole thing,
a serious
fool.
tool. And we can see Plan Colombia, for instance.
That's just my whole thing. Is the people of Mexico gonna pay for it? Like they haven't already been paying for it for I don't know how many years. That's been Mexico. It's not no fucking. It's not no new news. It's not. 4. 4. It's always been like that, fool. It just got to the point where the fucking bottle just it couldn't take no more pressure, fool. You can only shake something so many times before it goes flat.
Shows how can you support anti-cartel operations without controlling the country. Mexico could do the same.
I was
And
watching this the other
Sheinbaum,
day.
unfortunately, is managing the war
I think last
from the
week.
shadows. Using intelligence, drones, and precision strikes will help Mexico, not sending troops.
Right. That's a pretty measured idea of what could happen in the near future. Nobody wants to see tanks roll across the U.S. southern border and drive all the way through Mexico. They just said it right here. This expert says a precision operation could be what is needed to get cartels out of areas of Mexico that they exclusively.
Did you see that? You better fucking start running, fool. Nah, fuck that. Don't start running. Just stay in place, fool. Just be like, fuck, I'm God. You see that, fool? There's no reason for run. There's no reason to run, fool. Just light your last cigarette. Light your last blunt. Do whatever the fuck you do, or do whatever you don't do drugs. They're bad for you, fool. They mess with your mental. Gacho. You see that plane, fool? She just lay down on the ground, fool. You're already gonna go laying down if you see that. Just might as well prepare for it. How do you want to go out? Laying down like this, laying down like that, saying why? What the YMCA and shit?
Control. And think about this for a second. If we know where these guys are, we know where they're hiding, we know what their territories look like, we know where their bases are, and if several cartel strongholds are identified and happen to disappear in seconds, that's gonna
tell me why right now my high ass thought that they were pushing the I thought they were pushing the car right there, fool. But he was checking him and he had his hands on the window and he was going like that. I thought they were pushing the fucking truck, fool. I thought it ran out of gas.
send a massive message to other criminals. It's gonna say, hey guys, you could be next. Just go away. Just shut down your operation. Go obey the law.
4. And the people that say, oh, let's go against the government here. 4. You see that? You really think if we take a stand for we're gonna have a chance? Not everybody has weapons, fool. And not everybody wants to fight. It might be half and half. There's probably half of the world wants to and half of the motherfuckers don't. I'm just saying, fool. How do I know? POV IRL.
Don't be part of a criminal organization. These cartels would vanish overnight if they were actually under pressure from a law and order machine, but that's never happened in Mexico. That's why these guys are so strong and so powerful. And that's why they've been able to hurt their own country and disenfranchise the law-abiding citizens of Mexico who don't want this.
On the top of Mexicans' mind when the U.S. intervened in Mexico and took half of its territory. So that's on the top of Mexicans' mind. So, you know, we were taught at schools about this intervention, you know. So, but one way.
For like how I said, Mexico's been like that. For this fool just said, I don't know how. I'm not clowning. I'm not nothing. For please take what I say serious. Laugh at the jokes. But right here, this fool looks like he hasn't went to school and I don't know, fool. And even during his time, it's been like that with cartels running the government. My whole thing for are the people of Mexico gonna pay the price? You gotta think about what's gonna happen after, fool. In situations like this, fool, this is strategic. This is lives on the line, fool. There ain't no messing up, fool. There's no messing up. There's no time to mess up with this.
Of doing it.
Meaning what?
I mean, the
Texas,
US,
California, Arizona.
That was like
you're talking
200
about
years
that,
ago.
The way you learned that story in school.
absolutely. And
Big
the
Bad
problem
AZ,
is that,
fool, what's up?
You know, it's the narrative. It's the official narrative from Sheinbaum. No, I mean, she keeps saying, you know, if we allow the U.S. states to come
AZ.
in, you know, they will take half of
YouTube,
the
that's how
territory
you
once
do
again.
it, fool.
Wow. I had no idea
H-Town
that that's
does
what they were doing
this.
over there in Mexico. Apparently the Mexican
LA does
president
that. I'm
is
not gonna
saying
do it,
that
'cause I don't
the
want
same
people to
thing
be
that
like, oh,
happened
shit.
when Texas became part of America is going to happen again. The Mexican president wants people to think that if the United States gets involved at all in enforcing laws against criminals in their
Houston's
country,
like
that it's over,
this,
that the country's
LA's
going to
like
lose territory,
that.
that the country's going to be absorbed into the United States, and that they're going to lose their autonomy. Now, although I think this is fear-mongering to the 100th degree,
That's all I know, fool, I'm not gonna lie.
A nation should never
But
be
this is
forced
AZ.
to give up its sovereignty. But the problem is, what we've got
I've
going
seen it
on
one
in
time,
Mexico
for a
is
long
we have
time ago.
government corruption that harms countries and people who aren't in Mexico. These criminal organizations don't stay put. They export their activities, and they create international problems. So once you have a situation like that, the rest of the world starts looking and starts saying, hey, maybe we should do something about this.
Same way about the corridors that they use. We know every one of them. We have every one of those corridors under major surveillance. We have nobody coming in through our southern border. But we know exactly how they get there. I would be proud to do it personally. I didn't say I'm doing it, but I would be proud to do it because we're going to save millions of lives by doing
Would you actually do it with Mexico's permission, though?
it. I wouldn't answer that question.
So the president just said that he sees cartel activity every single day through American intelligence in Mexico and also in Colombia, which is also part of this discussion right here. And they're asking, would you get Mexico's permission to do this? And he says he's not going to answer that question, which makes total sense because the allegations are that the government of Mexico is in league with these criminal organizations,
So,
and we know that these cartel organizations have their operatives in many local governments here.
Your team and your presidency and your
if he
kids
goes
wanna-
to the Mexican government and he says, hey,
right,
I want to do
where's the
something
files
about
at,
these criminal
fool?
organizations, will you give me permission? Well, what if that operation leaks?
You don't want
what
me
if the
to get
criminals
mad, fool.
disappear? The element of surprise is paramount to this whole thing. The whole thing rests on the idea
Sorry, you too,
of
I
the
didn't mean
element of
that.
surprise. If the
It's not
criminals
you
are
guys,
told in
it's him.
advance, hey, Trump's coming for you, what do you think they're going to do? You think they're going to hang around and just let that happen? No, these guys are going to be gone, and they're just going to bide their time and come back, which would defeat the entire purpose
I don't know what he
of
was
some
saying, I
sort
was
of
talking.
action.
I've been speaking to Mexico. They know how I stand. So now we've stopped the waterways, but we know every route. We know their address. We know their front door. We know everything about every one of them. Would I do it? I'd be proud to. I'd probably go into Congress and say, hey, and you know what? The Democrats and the Republicans would both agree.
Yeah.
Unless they're crazy. And they are a little crazy on the Democrat side.
Right, so if you're a cartel member, it's probably time to seriously think about doing something else with your
Well, he's already. Let me throw a little light jab to the Democrats. Let me boast in Democrat things and Democrat things.
life. It's probably time to start obeying the law, stop committing crime, because this might be as much notice as these guys get. that might be it right there. The president just said he would be proud to put an end to these criminal organizations. And we're already seeing an uprising in Mexico itself of regular people protesting.
I always said, fool, I will go fight. Not no more. I can't. No. I can't no more, fool. I'm hella out of shape. I always said back in the day, fool, I would join to fight if they had a G.I. Joe suit that you can't penetrate and is unstoppable. That's the only way I'm gonna go, fool. I can't no more, but hey, that was the only time that was the only way I was gonna go. Lie, cause I'm not gonna lie. Me and one of my fucking friends, we went straight to the Marines office at Metro Center. We're ready to go, fool. But I got high in high school in the restroom. I couldn't go. Luckily, I got high in the restroom, fool. I was a fucking. I would have belonged to something way after. Not that I wouldn't want to be. I just wouldn't want to be called upon anymore. I wouldn't want to be a piece of something just to get something done. For ain't your fucking pencil.
The idea that these criminals have been controlling their government in some way for decades, whether it's financing politicians, whether it's convincing people not to run for office, whether it's threatening people, while these cartels use their money and power to take away the wealth of the Mexican people by disenfranchising them in their home country. I mean, we can't ignore the fact that if you live in a place which is controlled by criminals and you have this status quo that never seems to work for the average people, they're never going to get ahead. They're never going to have the life that they could have if that status quo didn't exist.
The U.S. has overwhelming advantages. You don't need boots on the ground to hit cartel command centers. We have WAP surveillance, cyber disruptions, financial targeting, and precision drone
I'm saying no as in Dan, that's crazy.
Cripple operations with a minimal risk. And for God's sake, I mean, we had Plan Colombia, and then we now have Petro's on power. If
Interesting.
Colombia has lost any sovereignty, explain me how Petro rise to
He's
power.
alleging that Colombia has fallen.
I don't see any issues whatsoever. You know, if we could actually open our state.
Hold on, I think he meant back in the day. I really don't know what's going on in that continent, fool. Right here, right now, I'm focused on this house, across the street, and whatever else, fool. I don't know, fool. Just be happy. That's all I'm saying, fool. Even if it's not a happy situation, find the happiness in it.
Open our borders.
Right, so if you live in Mexico and you look at what's happened in Venezuela, where the leader of Venezuela is the alleged kingpin who controls a cartel and controls Tren de Aragua, this dangerous Venezuelan gang, and then you look at what's happening in Colombia and you see a regime pop up over there, and you ask yourself, gee, how could these guys come to power if they're not being backed by the wrong people? You wonder, is that going to happen in our country? There are politicians who have said, these are Mexican politicians who've put their careers on the line to say, hey, look, we don't want to be the next Venezuela, and we think our government is leading us in that direction. If you live in Mexico and you're watching this happen, when else do you have the time to protest and have your voice heard?
I guess they looked at it, hey, it's right now, let's get it good. Hey, I don't know, fool. I'm not the House of Representatives, fool. I'm not wearing a fucking suit, dog.
At an international level, if it's not right now.
I'm not gonna lie, I always wanted to wear suits.
Was in office and the U.S. border was wide open and these cartels were making $13 billion a year off illegal immigration as a business?
Was that
your time to protest? Or is it now when other countries, your northern neighbor, become serious about taking on these criminal organizations in some way. What do you think about this?
That's
I
why
don't want to see
drugs.
boots on the ground in Mexico, but the idea that the waterways around America are now silent, if that also were to happen to cartel-controlled territory, would these be areas of Mexico where Mexican people were allowed to go in Florida?
I don't know. You too. What do you think? Comment. Let me know. Let me know, fool. This is the Maribacho420 show. It's Maribacho420 The Politician. Hey.